CJ Nasello on RiverBender.com.
I'll be over the edge now in no time at all. I'm falling faster and faster and faster with no time to stall.
Welcome back. Daily Show hitting you in the nose at 10:41 on this Tuesday morning. It is the 18th day of February. Eric Robinson in studio. Coming up on February the 20th in just 2 days, the Underground Railroad tours at Lewis and Clark Community
That's
College.
correct.
How are we doing today, sir?
Well, like my grandfather said, days like today make Robinsons wish that we were in Arizona watching the pitchers and catchers work out with the Dodgers.
That's a great point. I was thinking the same thing myself, but in Jupiter.
The streets are not that bad. You just have to remember what Larry Reed taught you. Larry Reed and the boys, and we call them boys, and driver's ed taught you. In weather like this, drive defensively, drive below the speed limit, and keep at least 3 vehicles length between you and the car ahead of you, and you'll be fine.
Yeah,
pay attention.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But, one of those days, too, where, some people decided to hang out at home and get some stuff done. Some people are out.
I tell you, the streets aren't that bad. You can only do so much with an inch of snow.
Oh, and the dry snow, too. I mean, that
yeah.
powder just packs down.
Yeah, it does. And when you get an inch, there's no point doing anything with it, because even if you do something with it, there's still going to be some there. And so most people have taken that as a clue to just stay in. But I, like a damn fool, left Upper Alton and came down here. People were driving by looking at me, wonder what the hell is wrong with that man. Well, you know that he is light, but he was really light, and I could have walked I like walking in the middle of the street, and on a day like today, I could have walked in the middle of the street, and nobody would have challenged, not a person would have challenged me.
No.
Nobody was out at all, and it wasn't bad. This is like Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. is like this. It get a millimeter of snow, and it shuts the city down. And you get this weather like this, and nobody's coming out at all.
What's funny is you said right, because I kept telling people, even no matter what type of snow we're getting, Tuesday morning's gonna be fine. We'll make it work.
Yeah.
Now Tuesday afternoon, whatever, I can see getting a couple inches. You go home early.
Yeah.
But we'll find out where the line hits. We still got a few hours to tell. But you're right. Everybody just settles on down, and they call it a snow day at about a half an inch of a dusting of snow.
Well, it reminds me, it was winter of 2000. I was teaching at Lewis and Clark, and it was in January, and they were predicting snowmageddon. Mrs. Snook had the biggest, best day of her life because people came and bought her out big time. And here we are. Lewis and Clark got scared, and they called off early. They said on Friday we're going to be closed. Well, they were saying 8 o'clock. We're going to get about 10 inches. We're going to get about 10 inches. We're going to get about 10 inches. 12 o'clock, we're going to get about 12 inches. We're going to get about 12 inches. We're going to get about 12 inches. 3 o'clock, we're going to get about 12 inches. About 12 inches. At 5 o'clock, they called it off. It's 40 degrees and dry. And the next January, we had an ice storm hit. I remember the date. It was the day the anniversary of my father's death. We had an ice storm hit. No, my surgery was the anniversary day. It was on the 17th. An ice storm hit, and they didn't call off school. They didn't call off anything. And I, like a damn fool, I was living up on West 4th Street. And I, like a damn fool, I was bound and determined to get to class. And it's first week of the semester. I was bound and determined to get to class. And it was about 32 degrees, comfortable, not bad. So I loaded my car, the ice there. I said, well, it's just a little ice. I could handle that. Ice was there. I loaded up my car. I was driving back then. I went back to my apartment because I forgot a book. And when I did that, I slipped and fell on the ice and broke my leg.
Oh my goodness!
And so I was out for 6 weeks.
Whoa!
I was out for 6 weeks. But I suppose Lewis and Clark said they weren't going to be fooled a second time. They're not canceling class.
Well, I should have canceled class that day.
They should have canceled. Yeah.
That happened to me when I was in middle school. It was like 12 degrees. It was 2013 when the Arctic blast came in, and it was negative 12. And then there was like 6 inches of snow, and no one called off school around because Edwardsville didn't call off. And all of a sudden, the next day, everyone's riding the superintendent up. This is 2 superintendents ago, by the way, or 3 superintendents ago. And man, we were off for 5 days in a row after that. It was almost like they felt like they needed to make up for a few of those.
They make up for that real fast.
That was pain and suffering,
they make
money.
up for real fast. But when we talk about the Underground Railroad, this is the type of weather where somebody would probably plan to escape. And
Really?
yeah, it's in winter, because typically what happened was the slaves who escaped to the Underground Railroad through Alton came originally from the slave markets in downtown St. Louis. They were typically brought there from Maryland, Delaware, and Kentucky, and they were going to be sold to planters who would take them down to Louisiana, and that was a several months process. Mm-hmm. It was the first part of the year, and usually the planters down in Louisiana and Mississippi, they needed people not for cultivation, but they needed them for harvesting. Yeah. Because the harvesting of sugar was very labor intensive and very costly. You could get scalded. I mean, anybody who bakes,
right,
understands very well that it's easy to get scalded with sugar.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
And this was sugar water they were using, and it was high boiling amount. They were using cane knives that could easily decapitate and dismember. And so the planters during the harvesting of cane went through a lot of people. Yeah. And so they needed a lot of people to replace them. Sometimes they got that through workers who came who were in cotton plantations. They'd be sent down to sugar plantations to harvest sugar and then brought back up to harvest the cotton. Mm-hmm. But but they would come up to St. Louis. And we talk about baseball, but if you go to where the St. Louis Arch is, and the St. Louis and Busch Stadium, I still call it the new Busch Stadium. But if you go there to downtown St. Louis, that was where the slave traders were. Wow. And the planters would come up. Sometimes we get them in Memphis. Memphis was designed as a trader's point, but they'd sometimes come up to St. Louis. And not only did you have people who were trading slaves from the upper part of the South, you also had Missourians selling slaves, because Missourians had to. The personal property tax was tax on property in your household. And that was a head tax. It was a poll tax.
Whoa!
A tax on your slaves. Okay. And so if you had slaves, that was an easy way to pay your tax. Now you gave your age, kind of, and I think you're what, 25? Mm-hmm. Okay. At the age of 25, your price would go up, as opposed to somebody like myself. And at the age of 59, my price would not be very much higher. Mm-hmm. If you're somebody like Jared Hennings, who's almost 80. Mm-hmm. I'm going to give Jared's age. Jared is almost 80. You couldn't sell him at all. He has these little skinny, little yellow legs.
Jared's almost 80?
Yes, he is. Didn't you
know
know that?
Way.
Have you ever seen Jared without his teeth?
Oh, no, stop.
Well, that's the reason for you to come to the Underground Road toward Lewis and Clark, because we get Jared to take out his teeth.
No.
Yeah, and he shows his age.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. You should see Jared when he's not on camera.
Oh, no, I never have asked.
You should see him when he doesn't have makeup.
Stop.
Jared looks slight different when he doesn't have makeup. He has these wrinkles, and he gets these false teeth out. He's got these little skinny little bird legs like this. That kind of knock knee. And when we were in Fences together, I was on stage with him. I was doing my performance, and I could hear this knocking going on, and it was Jared's knock knees and his teeth. I can't kid. He was almost 60 then. But at any rate, what you would do, and Jared better not be texting you. Jared better not be texting you. But But if you are, the slaves who are most valuable were the slaves who are in childbearing age, especially if they're female. Do you need to stop?
No. We're fine for right now. We'll take a pause.
And at 25, if you were female, your price would be the most.
Because of your bearing of children.
Because you can bear children. Actually, you'd be at peak age. And peak age started when you hit puberty. So that was when...
Would that be around the age of like 11 or 12? I mean, that I hate to say that, but I mean, for puberty...
12,
wow.
About 12.
Wow.
Yeah, about 12. It was not uncommon for women, for females to start bearing children at 12 and 13. Yeah. And they would bear until they were no longer fertile, which theoretically would be until they're in their 40s.
Wow.
And that's why you get somebody like Sojourner Truth saying, I bore 17 children and never one of them sold away. She started young and it concluded at an older age.
So, I mean, it really does bring in perspective, though. I mean, it really does to what, it's not even just dependent on, the person, but just the ages and just...
The age is rather interesting.
And it's a weird way to say it, but I don't know what proper term to... It's almost like this awful lottery where it's, if you're... if unfortunately you're of, that age, it's, I mean, there's not much else. I mean, you're kind of just there.
You're there. And remember, in that time period, there's no such thing as consent.
Right.
I'll put it like that.
You're 100%
right. If your ancestors, for example, I knew some Nacellos who were bricklayers. Mm-hmm. And if your ancestors in Italy had somebody who worked in their household, or they were working in someone's household in northern Italy, that person in that household could demand certain favors. It's a sad fact about ballet in Russia.
Yeah.
That the ballerinas in Russia were serfs, provided sexual favors to the lords there.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and it's one of those things, though, where we don't get that in history class. You
don't. That's one thing that people always say when I do my tours. They didn't talk about this in history. No, we don't. We give you the polished apple without the worm. Because
that's something that, I mean, honestly, is the more that I, kind of read up on just certain individuals, you realize, I mean, there was so much more than, that meets the eye than what we were told. It's from, sex, the sex trafficking and sexual assaults to the child trafficking that was going on through this. And you realize, I mean, you had to be the strongest of the strong to survive. Yeah. And I mean, it's just really incredible. Do you have a moment to stick around so I can pay a bill?
Yeah, I do.
I got to pay a quick bill here. Last bill of the day, and it belongs to, our great sponsors. Make sure you stop by and thank them as they keep me on the air and in a job at 10:53 on this Tuesday morning. More Daily Show next.
Hey, would you drop by the pharmacy? My doctor switched my cholesterol medication.
Yeah, will do, honey. I'm glad he's looking out for you.
OSF Healthcare can handle all of your family's primary care needs, including managing chronic conditions. Schedule an appointment today.
What are you doing?
We did our home insurance ourselves, but don't feel protected.
So you're building your own American Family Insurance roof line?
Yeah, life's better when you're protected under American Family's roof.
That's not how it works.
Dad, we'll go. It's gonna hit.
See, that's how it works.
For real protection, save up to 23% by bundling your home and auto with us.
With over 20 years of experience, Wilson's Tree Service has the expertise to handle all of your tree care needs. Licensed and fully insured, their team of experts are dedicated to providing reliable service. Plus, with a 24-hour emergency service line, Wilson's will always be there for you. Don't risk tackling that timber by yourself. Trust the local professionals at Wilson's Tree Service. Visit treeservicealtonil.org to get started today.
No matter the season, Play It Again Sports in Edwardsville has the gear the athletes need to get in the game. Whether you're shopping for the newest sports equipment or saving money on quality used gear, Play It Again Sports carries what you need to maximize performance to get the most out of every swing, kick, stroke, or shot. We'll even buy your used goods, paying cash on the spot. We carry all the gear for all the sports all year long. We're your hometown sporting goods store. Play It Again Sports, conveniently located at 4 Club Center Court in Edwardsville. Picture This and More has been a trusted name in the Alton community for more than 30 years, with the last 3 being right here on Broadway. We specialize in quality framing at affordable prices. We also feature works by local artists because we're proud of our community. If you have valued treasures to display and preserve, we're sure to have the perfect fit with our large selection of custom framing and display options. Whatever color, shape, or size, Picture This and More has the look you need. Stop by today and let us help you with your next project.
Village Dispensary has the best deals in Godfrey, Illinois with specials 5 days a week. Mondays roll in the week with 20 to 30% off select pre-rolls. Tasty Tuesdays, enjoy 20 to 30% off select edibles. Waxy Wednesdays, enjoy 20 to 30% off select concentrate and vape brands. Thirsty Thursdays, sip and save with 20 to 30% off all drinks. Flower Friday, grab select 3.5 gram flower deals starting at just $20. Village Dispensary, come meet your best buds.
You're listening to Our Daily Show with CJ Nasello on RiverBender.com.
So let's leave it alone, 'cause we can't see.
The time is 10:56 on this 18th day of February. It is a Tuesday morning in downtown Alton. We're coming back with Eric Robinson, and we're talking about the Underground Railroad tours, which are set on February the 20th. What time do they start?
This is an afternoon tour, 1 to 3. The weather's not an issue. This is actually perfect touring weather. We're not going to get out of the bus. And the motor vehicle, the vehicle we're going to use, will be large enough and comfortable enough for people.
Really cool. And
yeah, the only problem that you have on a tour really is if the sun is bright and shining and
because it's
a lot of
hitting
glass.
it,
Yeah, that's kind of difficult.
Now, how many spots do you guys go through?
Oh, it depends. I don't mention that at the beginning because I like to hear Jared's knees and all. And I like his reaction when I tell him when he finds out where we're going to go. But we're going to talk about issues as far as my research.
Okay.
As underground in the Underground Railroad. Now, you said your name is Nasello, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I knew 2 great groups of Nasellos. I knew the sons of Charlie Nasello at high school, and I knew the son and daughter of Pete Nasello. So which one are you?
Charlie.
You're Charlie. Okay. You're Charlie and Carol's grandson. Okay. Are you sure?
I'm almost. I mean, I guess I can't be
because you look more like Pete.
Yeah.
You look like Pete's side. You look like Pete inside.
Well, you're gonna laugh at that.
Well, the funny thing about it is that we go back a bit because my mother worked at the state hospital with your grandmother.
Oh, really unique.
And so
okay.
I remember when your aunt was born.
Yep.
I was in school with I was in school with all of them, but Tim and I were in class together.
Really
Uncle
cool.
Tim. And I, for one, know why your father almost didn't graduate from high school.
Oh no, not the Redbird.
The Redbird.
Not the
Redbird. I told a lot of people. I used to tell everybody. And when I taught at Lewis and Clark, we shared nursing students. And so they would come in and ask, "Is this true?" And I said, "Oh, you had Robinson." But at any rate, the only thing we have to base that on is your word.
True.
So one thing that is true about people who escaped, they did not have ID.
That's a good.
They did not have birth certificates. Did not become a feature in American society until 1939 with the Social Security Act. Mm-hmm. I could say I was whomever,
right,
and people would believe it.
Right.
I can come here and say I'm not Joyce and Preston Robinson's son, but instead I am the son of Nora and Essex Robinson. And the only people that know the truth about it, were the descendants of those families.
Right.
My brothers and Essex and Nora's daughters, and Essex's daughter, Crystal. They would know the truth, but nobody else would.
Right.
One of the things that happened with people who escaped as escaped slaves was that they when they came to a place, they were often absorbed into families.
Yeah.
And those families helped protect them. Alan Pinkerton, for example, did that at his barrel making shop in Dundee, Illinois. And you have stories about people in Wood Station doing that. Well, that's some of the things we cover.
Let me ask you this, though. Because you bring up I've never thought about this before, but you're right. You have no identity whenever you're, doing, you really don't. You can. Did that affect the? Do you have any research on what that did and affected the mentality and the mental? Because to me, you have no identity.
I can talk about my own family.
Okay.
Because there was my paternal grandfather's maternal grandfather.
Okay.
Had the name D.R. Ellington. He was an Ellington. D.R. Ellington. Everybody called him DR. They thought it meant Dr. Redman, or he said it was. Mm-hmm. And you get to detail, and he came to Edwardsville. He lived in Cass. He was one of the first Negro property owners in the city of Edwardsville proper on Cass Street. That house stayed in the family until Aunt Mally died in the 1990s. But D.R. Ellington had been a slave somewhere. It was anywhere from Georgia, Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, and it just changed it place to place.
Right.
Well, until he showed up and married Mary Owens, my paternal grandfather's maternal grandmother. There's no record of him.
That's incredible.
They're very much like, say, you hear the story rather frequently. Rick Fasten, who is a gentleman, would talk about this. That people would come from the old country.
Yeah.
And they would encounter anti-Irish, anti-Italian prejudice. They'd anglicize their name, or they'd come across and they encounter anti-Semitic prejudice, or anti-Irish prejudice, and they change their name, or they're like the Cowsleys. Cowsleys were Irish Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
But when they came to the Illinois, they became Presbyterians.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Because Presbyterians had less prejudice than Irish Catholics.
This is so fascinating.
And so or we see it today. I had a student who had the name KC, K.C. That was her first name. And I asked her about it, and she said her mother gave her that name to avoid sexist prejudice.
Wow.
Well, what you did when you were a escaped slave, you changed your name to avoid being captured.
Right.
So what the slaveholder would have would a series of aliases and series of names if they wanted to find the slave. It was a matter of trying to outwit the slave in picking the name.
So it really was. This was a battle of wits and everything else.
Battle of wits and everything else, and you had something like, how much time do I have?
Whatever you want.
Oh,
this is great.
Whatever. Oh, my goodness. I can talk for 16 weeks.
Fair point. We got about till 11:10, you know?
Okay. You talked to Jared, and he said time limit. Okay. You see this? Ladies and gentlemen? This is a Schnucks receipt. You got the coupons. Are they sponsors? No, they're not sponsors, but they're coupons. Okay. You understand this has no value.
No.
At least it has no value unless I decide to take something back.
Right.
That's how it has value. But no other value.
Right.
If you were 25, and I'll point this out, not so much your dad, but Tim. Mm-hmm. Tim looked young.
Yeah.
Tim looked young.
Absolutely.
And Tim and I were two of the shorter people in our class. And we both looked young. And even when Tim grew his mustache after he got out of the Navy, he looked young. I know Tim was ID'd, and I had to be ID'd because I smoked a pipe. I smoked a pipe, too. But at any rate, that ID is very valuable. Correct. You say who your age is.
Yep.
I know when Tim joined the Navy, he had to prove his age.
Right.
He had to have a birth certificate.
Right.
Well, your birth certificate is an official document. Your ID is an official document. Your driver's license is an official document. If you say are ham radio operator, you have an ID. That's an official document. Your FOID is an official document. It doesn't belong to you. It belongs to whoever issues it. So that whoever asks for it, you have to present it.
Right.
And you can't destroy it. This, however, if you were, let me put it like this. If you were a slave, if you're a freed Negro in Illinois, a document like this, a receipt from this county saying you posted a bond of $500, which is equal to 1 year's income, it's not transferable. So if you go from Madison County to Macoupin County, you need a new bond. And you needed it if you were of age. So the good thing about you is you're 25.
Yeah.
That means that if you start looking like an adult, you would need one of these.
I get what you're saying because it goes back to that identity, right? Because some people could have been 30 that looked 21 or 18 or 17.
21 or 18. I looked when I taught middle school. The 7th graders thought I was an 8th grader. I had a master's degree and I worked at Lehman Brothers. That they thought I was a 7th grader, 8th grader. And they always commented my dad smoked a good pipe. But at any rate, this document had to be presented at all times.
Yeah.
And this is what can happen. You gave me this document. Boom. You gave me this document. I just teared it up like this.
Oh, my God.
And I would do one of these numbers. I'd get up, grab a hold of you, say, I'm selling you.
Oh, my.
And, yeah, word up, baby.
Was that pretty prevalent in this area? I mean,
it was prevalent enough.
So,
and you see it in the population behaviors of Negroes in the Alton area. Only 4 cities in Illinois had a population in town of 100 or more Negroes. They were Jacksonville, Quincy, Springfield, and Alton. Most Negroes lived outside of town, and the place where Negroes lived was primarily in Hunterstown, the area between Ridge Street and Alton City Cemetery above Broadway. Mm-hmm. That was Hunterstown. And they were protected by Charles Hunter, who was an innkeeper. And it was always integrated. I'm going to make a blind guess in saying that your family were associated with St. Patrick's Church at one time.
Could have been, maybe.
Yeah, because that had a large Italian population.
They were at St. Mary's, a lot of it.
Yeah,
it was St. Mary's, because they grew up on McClure Street. I knew that.
Yeah. Well, that parish included McClure Street.
Yeah.
And so, but at any rate, that's the area. St. Patrick's is the area of Hunterstown, and Hunter protected populations that were there. But most Alton's Negroes lived outside of town. We lived along Oakwood and Salu. We lived in Wood Station and Fosterburg. We lived in Rocky Fork. And they're talking about a couple hundred in each of those.
Wow.
And it was a matter of living in rural areas where you're safe. Where honestly you were around family members.
Yeah.
Who could protect you. And that's why it's important for me to say, hey, I knew this about your grandparents.
Right.
I knew who Charlie. I knew what Charlie Nasello did with soccer. Yeah. I knew that. I know who your cousin Pete Nasello is. Yeah. I know that. Okay.
I get what you're saying.
And say, well, I know who Joyce Robinson is. I know this. I know this person.
I get that. Yeah.
And so saying that you know somebody actually had greater currency than the piece of paper. Because if somebody came here to take you away and saying, this is not C.J. Nasello.
Right.
Rather, this is the great, nefarious Irish so-and-so.
Right.
And I'm going to take him in. I can say, wait a minute, I know him. You know me, I know him. He's accurate. And that was true about when you talk about people who are escaped slaves or free blacks who are caught and kidnapped or threatened to be kidnapped by slave traders because, again, there were no identity papers.
Oh my good. This is so fascinating.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. And it's so fascinating too, because to me, this is where I find it unique. And I'm sure it was different because you've done the research. It's just my perception just listening to this is we have today social media and all these really up-to-date newspapers that are even, printing every evening and morning or printing around the clock. And back then, I mean, you had to rest on your morals based on really what you and your immediate society around you was resting on.
Yeah, well, that's what people meant was the community is very important. That's why sociologists made that statement.
This is such a we're out of time today, but I
could talk about the Klan in Upper Alton. They actually played a role.
Did they really?
Yeah, well, the Klan used to protect certain people in the saloon neighborhood.
Really?
From the boys of Western Military Academy.
Why so?
Well, because the Klan did not want everybody to know they had girlfriends.
Oh, no. Okay, so let's do this.
But you didn't hear that from me.
No, but let's do this real quick. So let's talk about the tour again.
The tour is Thursday, February the 20th from 1 to 3 p.m. at Lewis and Clark Community College. You need to call Jared Hennings at Lewis and Clark Community College. And if I remember Jared's number, it's 618-468-6400 to make a reservation. And he'll give you the details. It's a free tour paid for by your tax dollars, but you get the great benefit of seeing Jared without makeup.
And no teeth.
You think he's funny without hair? You should see him without teeth.
Well, Eric, if you ever have time to come back on and talk about this more, I'd love to have you, because we could talk about this for 2 hours.
Like I said, I can... Tim and Greg both... I shouldn't say Greg, that's your dad. Tim, Greg, and... Pete and Sherry all know I can get started and I can finish.
Well, let me give you a call sometime in the next couple of weeks, and let's have an extended conversation about this. I find it so fascinating, and thank you again for your time.
Are you going to give me 2 hours?
Oh, I'll give you I'll give you an hour. Can we do an hour?
I can't say anything in an hour. Ask your grandmother about Robinsons.
We're out of time today, but I'll see you back here tomorrow for more of our daily show. Until then, have a great day. Stay warm, stay safe, but most importantly, try your best to stay out of jail.
He said